What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Swqqqy, back with another one, man. Another video for the live channel. Today we're gonna be reacting to Lil Uzi Vert is slowly fading away. And I ain't gonna lie, I don't hear from Uzi no more, bro. Last time I heard from him was when JT and Cardi B got into it and she dissed him in a song. That's the last I heard of Uzi, honestly. But we finna get straight into it.
Recently, Complex interviewed Nas and they asked him about some of the candidates that they have for their Rapper of the Year award that they like to give out annually. And two of the main candidates for that award were NBA Youngboy and Playboy Cardi. And Nas labeled them both as not only just some of the hottest guys in the game, but rock stars.
Obviously, this year we are going to be doing it. There's a handful of names in contention. And with a legend like yourself, I'm curious, like, a few of the names that we're thinking about, Playboy Cardi, NBA Youngboy are two that, amongst Kendrick, Clips, many others, but I'm curious of your perspective on the newer generation, like the Playboy Cardis, and what you see in them and how they affect the newer cats.
Rockstar shit.
What made this clip so interesting to me is that they're having a conversation about rock stars and some of the biggest in the genre, and there's no mention of Lil Uzi Vert. Now, obviously, within the specific context of Rapper of the Year, there's no world where you're going to try and convince yourself that Lil Uzi Vert is the Rapper of the Year in 2025, a year where he didn't even drop a major project. But still, I believe that this conversation is reminiscent of the wider rap conversation going on right now, which doesn't really involve Uzi when you talk about things like the rappers of the year, the hottest rappers in the game, and specifically the rock stars. Like, to say the word rock star in rap and Lil Uzi Vert's name not come immediately after it is kind of weird to me. It's kind of strange. Like, not weird because it's wrong necessarily, but weird because we haven't really experienced this yet. And it feels like Lil Uzi is kind of being phased out in terms of being one of the faces of this generation, in terms of being one of the biggest of this generation, which is crazy because at one point in time, he was far and away the biggest and the face of this generation.
I ain't gonna lie. Uzi, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, when I first heard Uzi in 2015, on that Bad and Bougie with the Migos, nigga. Yeah. Did a little bit back to that bone. Whoa. Yeah. These niggas be my clones. 438. All of my niggas they hate, bro. That shit was so bumping, bro.
Every young person was a Lil Uzi Vert fan. Everybody loved Uzi. Whenever the old heads wanted to complain about this generation and how weird they were, they would attack Lil Uzi Vert because he was kind of the face of this new wave of rap. Uzi was the guy, but right now it kind of feels like he's being erased from this conversation. I've talked about the state of Uzi's like current day career a few times now, but just for the people who need a quick review or just aren't really super tapped in, I'm gonna go over it again, okay? So in 2023, he drops his highly anticipated album, Pink Tape. This is an album that people have been waiting on for quite a while. It was like 3 years after the release of Eternal Take, and it came out to kind of mixed reviews. Like, I would still say more positive than negative, but it wasn't the same like Teflon image that Uzi really had when it came to fans of my generation listening to rap music, because pretty much everything that he put out up until that point was considered gold. Every project that he put out was highly beloved, and this was the first time that an album came out from Lil Uzi, and it was a bit controversial. Now, personally for me, just on the record, I love that album. I like it a lot, actually. I was one of the ones who was defending it before anybody really was like kind of stepping up for it, but that's besides the point. The album also sold 167K first week, which those are great numbers, but it still was a step back from Eternal Take, which sold almost 300K first week. So it was very clear that this was an overall step down for Uzi, but it's like, you know, at that point, what really was going to be a step up from Eternal Take, the hype that it had, the numbers it produced. So it wasn't like, you know, waving red flags at that point in time. But then his next album came out, which was Eternal Take 2 in 2024. And this is where things really...
I ain't gonna lie. That Pink Tape album, it was okay. It wasn't how he was promoting Pink Tape, Pink Tape, Pink Tape, Pink Tape. Like, bro, it was at best a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't even remember any songs off the last one he had dropped. I ain't gonna lie. So Moral of the story, Uzi really just been lost in the sauce since the first Eternal will take. Now that bitch, that motherfucker was my. Wait, was it? Was it Eternal Attack or was it called something else? Whatever album cover that was with him in the motherfucking different color shirt and in space. Nigga, that album was hard.
Took a turn for the worse because Eternal Take Two is widely considered to be a pretty bad album. Like, for the most part, there weren't too many people that enjoyed this album, and there were not a lot of mixed reviews. For the most part, it was just people saying, yeah, this wasn't good. And me personally, I think that this is easily the worst album that Uzi has ever put out. And to go along with the negative reviews and really just the negativity around the album as a whole, the album only sold like 60K first week, which is a huge step back from where Uzi was just a few years ago. This was a fall from grace that was, obviously seen in the numbers going from 300K to 160 to 60, which is crazy, but it was also reflected in the narratives and how people spoke about Uzi when it came to him as an artist and the music that he's able to produce and the quality of music that he was putting out. It feels like Uzi's low-key becoming like a distant memory for a lot of like the casual rap fans. I've been tapped into Uzi since 2015, and if you were listening to him back then, you knew about the connections between him and Cardi, right? They were always kind of paired up together. They were always talked about as a duo. If you saw one, you sometimes would see the other. If you liked one of their music, you liked the other person's music. Or if you didn't like the other person's music, you at least...
Bro, 2015 through 2021 music will never be topped, literally. 2022 was the last good, decent year we had in music. Every year since, bro. Well, I say 2023. 2024 ain't nothing good dropped. And definitely ain't nothing good dropped in 2025, bro. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Cardi dropped I Am Music, but that shit, like, that nigga took too long for me, bro. I ain't don't care, bro. That shit, like, it did okay, but nigga, for 5 years, bro, that shit was, I don't know. And I fuck with Cardi. But that nigga made us wait 5 years for that, bro. Like, come on, bro.
We're very much aware of that person. And right now, Cardi's going insane. He just sold almost 300K. He still has the biggest rap album of 2025. He's on tour right now. Like, he's killing it. But there was one thing about the Uzi and Cardi debates that was always true. And that was Uzi was the bigger artist. It did not matter. I personally preferred Cardi over Uzi. Just, I like Cardi's music more, even though I love Uzi. But there was no debate about who the bigger artist was. It was always Uzi. Since 2015, probably all the way up until, like, this year. Like, Uzi was the guy from that SoundCloud era. From, 2016 SoundCloud, 2016...
Damn ads.
Uzi was the guy. There was no question about it. There was X, there were other artists who were big, but it was Uzi, and then there was everyone else. Yet, in modern times, it feels like he's almost gone completely forgotten about. Like, it's not like people are, bashing him for his numbers falling off. It's not like people are like, oh my gosh, when's the last time you heard a good Uzi song? They're not slandering Uzi, or it's not like people are, sitting around waiting for his next album. Oh my God, I can't wait till Uzi. I can't. It's not like that either. Like, it just feels like he's been kind of like Thanos snapped out of like the collective rap consciousness. It's almost kind of similar to what happened to Trippie Redd a little bit. Remember Trippie Redd? Like, people don't talk about Trippie Redd anymore. And it's not like a disrespectful thing because he's still putting out music. He's still doing well for himself. But like, Trippie has kind of left the consciousness of like the average rap mind. He's not in the main conversation very often either. And it's just kind of strange because people forget Trippie Redd was super big. Like, Trippie was huge. Like, when we're talking about that SoundCloud era, that around, 2016, when we're talking about those guys and who was able to make it to the mainstream, there were 3 guys who stuck with that rage sound. And it was Uzi, Trippie, Cardi. Now, obviously, X was there, but he ended up passing away before he could really, like, reach his full potential. But out of that era of SoundCloud, it was Uzi, Trippie, and Cardi. And Uzi was by far the biggest. Trippie was the second. And Cardi was the third. I know this sounds weird for some of y'all who weren't tapped in, but Trippie was a lot bigger than Cardi at a certain point. Like 2018, around that time, Trippie...
Hey, That's that's not a bad statement. You know that's not a bad statement. I agree. Trippy back then was bigger than Cardi for sure. And in 2021, after 2021, Trippy fell off. Not gonna lie, and Cardi started dethroning him because people didn't fuck with a whole lot of red until the end of 2021. Because it dropped at the end of 2020. So it took motherfuckers a whole year to come out and confess that they actually fuck with a whole lot of red.
Trippy was one of those guys, but slowly but surely he just kind of was. I don't want to say like kicked out, but he was just kind of forgotten about. Like people just don't really talk about Trippy anymore. And Cardi ended up eventually passing him by a whole lot of red. It was set and sealed. Cardi was obviously the bigger artist. And now when we get to 2025, it feels like the same thing is kind of happening to Uzi, where it's like he's just quietly being pushed to the side, just swept away. No big deal. No headlines about him falling off. No huge videos about how Uzi can't do this anymore. Oh my gosh, I can't believe, like how people talk about Lil Baby, how we've been talking about Lil Baby for the last 3 years. Now he's falling off, or Polo G or Roddy Ricch. You don't really see that for Uzi. It's like we've just kind of forgotten about him. It's weird. Now, obviously, Uzi hasn't been dropping music or, trying to keep himself in headlines and controversy and posting himself in the studio and doing interviews and streams. Like, he hasn't really been popping out to the public in a major way. So it's not like he's been giving people a whole bunch of stuff to work with in terms of talking about the guy. But it is just kind of weird that he slipped out of these rap conversations. And the reason why I say it's so weird is because nobody's noticed. Like, he's just pretty much gone MIA and nobody's said anything about it. Nobody cares. It's like he's just gone now.
That's how it be. It's so people nowadays. It's so many people doing the same shit. Like everybody want to be everybody, or everybody want to do this, or everybody want to do that. Like,
I mean this with no disrespect because I love Uzi. But the biggest thing that Uzi's probably been involved in this year is Cardi B like dissing him on her new album because she was dissing JT. Like this whole like Cardi B, JT, Nicki Minaj, this whole beef, Uzi got dragged into it because they were talking about boyfriends and stuff. And that's probably the biggest thing that's been involved with Uzi this year. And again, I'm not trying to be funny or disrespectful, but that's just the truth. Uzi has fallen into the back burner of the collective rap consciousness for the first time in a decade. The guy that was setting all the trends, the guy that had a whole bunch of controversy with his fashion and the stuff he was wearing and how he carried him.
I ain't gonna lie, that nigga Lil Uzi live in a GTA RP server. This nigga change his hair every motherfucking time he wake up. Literally, bro. Motherfucker have spiky rockstar hair one day. Next day he got fucking pink dreads. The next day he got a fucking afro. The next day he got a motherfucking, I don't know, bro. That shit crazy.
So the guy who was dropping hits has disappeared, and it feels like nobody really cares. Even the Uzi fans who are super diehard and would fight for him online and try to keep his name in conversations and always be talking about him and would be fighting with Cardi fans about who's better, they've kind of gone silent too. And, maybe this is just kind of the end of Uzi's run as like this huge star in rap. And I mean that as, no disrespect, but, some guys have an expiration date. That's just kind of how it goes in rap. You're not going to be on forever. You have a period where you have a hot run. Maybe it's a few years, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's, 15 if you're somebody like Drake. But, you have your run and then it's just kind of over. There's no warning signs. It's just, that's it. But still, it just is so crazy to me that we're talking about the hottest names in rap. We're talking about rock stars in rap. We're talking about YoungBoy. We're talking about Playboy Cardi. And you can't even bring up Uzi's name. Like, realistically, if we're having a conversation about the faces of this genre right now, the young faces, the newer faces, I say newer because these guys have been around for a minute. But I'm not talking about like the Drake, Kendrick, Cole, like not been around that long, but like this generation, the newer ones. You can't really say Uzi's name right now if you're having that conversation. If you were to say his name, you get laughed out the building. If we're talking about recently. And I just think that's insane. I think that's insane, but I think it's even crazier that we're not talking about it. Even with Young Thug and his controversies and stuff, people, you know, we're seeing YouTube, oh, Young Thug's falling off. Young Thug, oh man, the fall of Young Thug. But we're not talking about Uzi. And I'm not saying this because I want Uzi to get hate. Don't misunderstand me, because I like Uzi's music. But I'm just saying, for somebody as influential, as prominent, as dominant as Uzi once was just a few years ago, for his name to just poof into the air like smoke, isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that kind of crazy? It feels like Uzi is just fading away. It's like he's being erased slowly but surely from our minds. It's like the, you know, Men in Black Flash thing, where you don't even remember that you are forgetting something. It's just wild to me that he's been erased like this from our consciousness. But regardless, if you made it to this video, I greatly appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Is Uzi just fading away? Have you not had any conversations about Uzi? What do you think? Is he done? It's a possibility, but regardless, if you made it to the end of this video, I greatly appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.
Chat. If you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Man, I ain't gonna lie, chat. I'm tired. I filmed this video already, but the audio was messed up, so I came on here and filmed it again. It's dedication. I'm gonna need you guys and girls to like the video, because I'm so tired. It's 1:50 a.m. and I gotta get up at 5 a.m. for work. But that's how dedicated I am, man. But y'all leave a like and subscribe, man, please.